You chose the wrong woman. Olivia Carter said it so calmly that the man standing behind her almost laughed. He had expected tears, pleading, maybe panic. He had expected a frightened maid who understood nothing about the world she had accidentally stepped into. Instead, Olivia stood perfectly still, her hands resting loosely at her sides, her dark brown eyes moving quietly around the room. She noticed the locked steel door, the narrow window, the security camera in the upper corner, 3 men near the entrance, 1 man by the hallway, another checking his phone every 30 seconds. She noticed everything, but she gave them nothing. Her captors had taken her from the private wing of Adrian Blackwood's estate less than an hour earlier, believing they had found the perfect weakness in the life of the most powerful man in the city. Olivia was the woman who cleaned his home, the woman who carried folded shirts to his closet, polished the dark wood in his study, and moved quietly through rooms filled with expensive furniture and secrets. To them, that made her disposable. More importantly, it made her valuable. They believed Adrian would trade anything to get her back. They were wrong about one thing. Olivia had never believed her position made her powerless. The room around her smelled faintly of dust and old concrete. A fluorescent light buzzed overhead, flickering just enough to make the shadows seem restless. Olivia lowered her eyes for a moment, not from fear, but to hide the fact that she was counting. 7 steps from the chair to the door, from the door to the hallway. The camera covered most of the room, but not the narrow space beside the storage cabinet. She remembered the sound of the outside gate when they brought her in. She remembered the number of turns the vehicle had made. She remembered how long the engine had been running before it stopped. Small details, meaningless to anyone who thought she was merely a maid. Not meaningless to Olivia. You should be more frightened, one of the men said. Olivia slowly looked at him. Her expression remained calm. Why? The question landed strangely in the room. He stared at her, apparently waiting for an explanation. Olivia offered none. Across the city, Adrian Blackwood watched the video they had sent him. At 43, standing 6 feet 2 inches tall in a black tailored suit and open black shirt, he looked exactly as the newspapers described him. Controlled, composed, impossible to intimidate. His dark brown hair was brushed back, naturally streaked with silver at the temples. A neatly trimmed boxed beard framed his square jaw, with the same subtle silver running through it. Black and gray tattoos disappeared beneath his collar and across the upper part of his chest. His brown eyes remained fixed on the screen. Olivia appeared for only 12 seconds. 12 seconds was enough. Adrian watched once, then again, then a third time. His expression never changed. But on the third viewing, he noticed something nobody else in the room had noticed. Just before the recording ended, Olivia looked toward the left side of the room. Once, briefly, deliberately, Adrian leaned back in his chair. For the first time that evening, something almost like recognition moved behind his eyes. She wasn't asking him to find her. She was telling him she had already started figuring out how to leave. And suddenly, the people who had taken Olivia Carter hostage had a much bigger problem than Adrian Blackwood. Adrian did not move for several seconds after the video ended. The room around him remained silent, filled only by the quiet hum of the city beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. Olivia had worked in his home for 8 months. She had never asked about his business, never lingered near private conversations, and never seemed interested in the expensive world surrounding him. She simply arrived each morning, did her work, and disappeared into the background. That was exactly why Adrian had noticed her. Not because she demanded attention, but because she never needed it. He replayed the recording once more. Olivia looked toward the left side of the room just before the screen went dark. It was subtle enough for almost anyone to miss. Adrian did not. Run it again, he said. His security director, Marcus Hale, reached for the keyboard. The footage appeared again. Olivia sat in the same position, calm and composed. Her eyes shifted for less than a second. Marcus frowned. She is looking at the door. Adrian shook his head. No, she is looking past it. Marcus paused. Adrian pointed toward the screen. There is something on the other side of that wall. Marcus studied the image, then quietly began reviewing the background details. Adrian leaned back, his black suit perfectly still against the leather chair, the open collar of his black shirt revealing a portion of the fixed black and gray tattoo work across his upper chest. His dark brown hair was brushed back, naturally threaded with silver, and his short boxed beard carried the same subtle streaks. Nothing about his expression suggested panic, but his mind was already moving through possibilities. Whoever had taken Olivia had studied his household. They knew her schedule. They knew which entrance she used. They knew enough to believe she mattered to him. What they did not know was that Olivia had always been more observant than anyone realized. And Adrian had begun to wonder how much she had noticed before she disappeared. Meanwhile, in the quiet room where Olivia was being held, the man who had questioned her returned with a bottle of water. He placed it on the table and stepped back. Your employer is going to receive another message soon. Olivia looked at the bottle but did not reach for it. You seem very confident. He has a reputation. Reputations are not the same as certainty. The man stared at her. Olivia finally picked up the bottle and took a small drink. She was not trying to provoke him. She was simply listening. Every word revealed something. Every pause revealed something else. He mentioned that Adrian would come alone. That meant they believed Adrian's normal security team would be predictable. He mentioned a meeting place. That meant they had already chosen the location. He mentioned a deadline. That meant they were worried about time. Olivia lowered the bottle. How long have you been planning this? The question surprised him. Why does that matter? It does not. She looked toward the wall again. I was only curious. He walked away, apparently satisfied that she had nothing useful to offer. Olivia waited until the door closed. Then her expression changed by the smallest degree. She looked at the floor, then at the ceiling, then toward the storage cabinet. Her memory returned to the journey. The vehicle had turned left twice, then passed over a rough section of road. She had heard a train in the distance. Somewhere nearby, there had been a church bell. 3 sounds. 3 clues. She quietly repeated them in her mind. Across the city, Marcus placed a printed map on Adrian's desk. We found something, he said. Adrian looked down. The possible locations had been reduced to 3. One was near an industrial district. Another was beside an old rail line. The third was close to a church built more than a century ago. Adrian's eyes stopped on the third location. There, he said. Marcus looked up. How do you know? Adrian's gaze remained on the map. Because she wanted me to notice. For the first time that night, Marcus understood the real danger. Adrian was not simply searching for Olivia. He was following the trail she had quietly left behind. And somewhere in that quiet room, Olivia Carter was waiting for the next piece of the plan to reveal itself. Olivia heard the lock turn, and for the first time since she had been brought into the room, she smiled. It was not a smile of relief. It was the quiet expression of someone who had just confirmed a suspicion. The man who entered carried another phone in his hand, and behind him came 2 others. Your employer has made his decision, he said. Olivia looked up from the chair. Already. Adrian Blackwood does not like waiting. Neither do you, she replied. He frowned. That small reaction told Olivia more than his words had. He was nervous, not frightened, but impatient, and impatience usually meant the plan was not moving as expected. He placed the phone on the table and started a recording. Adrian appeared on the screen, standing inside his study beneath the warm light of a desk lamp. His expression was calm, his dark brown hair brushed back, silver naturally visible through the darker strands. The open collar of his black shirt revealed part of the black and gray tattoos. Across his upper chest, his brown eyes looked directly into the camera. Tell me what you want, Adrian said. The man beside Olivia smiled. We want you to come to the old rail district by midnight. Adrian did not answer immediately. Olivia watched his face. She knew that expression now. He was listening for what had not been said. And if I do not? Adrian asked. Then you lose someone important. Olivia lowered her eyes. The words were meant to frighten her. Instead, they confirmed something she had already suspected. They were not interested in her personally. They needed her to be important enough to control Adrian, but not important enough to understand their real objective. That distinction mattered. The recording ended. The room became quiet again. You seem disappointed, Olivia said. The man looked at her. You should be worried. I am. You do not look worried. Olivia folded her hands in her lap. I have learned that looking worried does not make a problem disappear. He studied her for several seconds before leaving the room. When the door closed, Olivia looked toward the old wall clock. 11 minutes had passed since the previous shift. The sound of footsteps outside changed. One person had left. Another had arrived. She remembered the voices. She remembered the pattern. Then she noticed something she had missed before. A small piece of paper rested beneath the leg of the table. It looked ordinary, almost insignificant. Olivia leaned forward and carefully picked it up. There were 3 handwritten numbers on it. She recognized the last one immediately. It was the same number printed on a delivery truck she had seen outside Adrian's estate 2 weeks earlier. Her expression became still. The truck had never delivered anything to the house. She had wondered about it at the time, but she had never mentioned it because there had been no reason to. Now there was. Across the city, Adrian stood beside a large window as Marcus reviewed the information they had gathered. "The old rail district is too obvious," Marcus said. "They want you to think Olivia is there." Adrian looked at the map. "Then why give us the rail district?" "Because they want you moving." Adrian nodded slowly. "Exactly." Marcus studied him. "What do you think they are after?" Adrian's gaze remained on the map. "Not money. Territory. Maybe." Adrian paused. "But if territory were the goal, they would not need Olivia." Marcus looked at him. Adrian turned toward the desk and picked up the photograph of Olivia that had been taken for her employee file months earlier. She was standing outside the estate, wearing a simple black uniform, her natural makeup understated, her expression calm. Nothing about the photograph suggested danger. Nothing revealed how carefully she observed the world around her. "They made one mistake," Adrian said. "They assumed they understood why she mattered." At that exact moment, Olivia looked down at the 3 numbers again. She finally understood what they meant. The first was a time. The second was a location. The third was not a number at all. It was an identifier, and it belonged to someone inside Adrian's organization. Olivia stared at the 3 numbers until the meaning finally settled in her mind. The first was a time. The second was a location. The third was an identifier connected to someone inside Adrian Blackwood's organization. She lowered the paper and took a slow breath. That was the missing piece. The people holding her did not know everything about Adrian's world. Someone had given them enough information to make their plan believable, but not enough to reveal the person helping them. Olivia folded the paper once and slipped it beneath the edge of the table. She had no intention of letting anyone know what she had discovered. A few minutes later, the door opened again. The same man returned, this time without the others. "Your employer is on his way," he said. Olivia looked at him calmly. "Where?" "You do not need to know." "Then why tell me?" He hesitated. Olivia noticed it immediately. He had not expected the question. "Because you should understand what happens next." Olivia held his gaze for a moment. "I already understand more than you think." He stepped closer, then stopped himself. "You are a maid." Olivia's expression did not change. "Yes." "You work in his house." "Yes." "You are not part of his organization." "No." "Then you have no idea what kind of man Adrian Blackwood is." Olivia looked toward the closed door. "Maybe." She paused. "But I know what kind of man you are." The room went silent. He did not answer. Olivia did not need him to. His reaction confirmed that he was not the person in charge. He was following instructions. Someone else was making the decisions. That meant the real danger was still somewhere outside this room. Across the city, Adrian finished reviewing the information Marcus had collected. The old rail district was a distraction. The church was a possibility. But the identifier Olivia had indirectly pointed toward changed everything. Adrian looked at the employee records. One name appeared beside a series of recent access logs. Daniel Mercer, Security Coordinator. 6 years with the organization. Trusted. Quiet. Almost invisible. Marcus stared at the screen. "He has access to the estate schedules." Adrian nodded. "And the staff records." "Including Olivia." Adrian's jaw tightened slightly. "Yes." Marcus continued reading. "He accessed her schedule twice this month." Adrian remained silent. The room seemed colder despite the warm light. Daniel had never made a mistake large enough to attract attention. That was exactly what made him dangerous to overlook. Adrian picked up his phone. "Do not contact him." Marcus looked up. "You want to wait?" "I want to know who else he reports to." Adrian's voice remained calm. "If we move too early, the person above him disappears." Marcus nodded. Meanwhile, Olivia heard a vehicle arrive outside. Tires rolled over gravel. Doors opened. Several footsteps crossed the floor beyond the room. The man beside her checked his watch. "It is time." Olivia stood slowly. She did not resist. She did not ask where they were taking her. Instead, she looked once toward the small window and noticed the night sky beyond it. A faint glow appeared in the distance. Not city lights. A church steeple stood against the darkness, barely visible beyond the rooftops. Olivia remembered the sound she had heard during the drive. A bell. Then she understood why the church location had been planted so carefully. It was not the destination. It was a landmark. Something nearby mattered more. She turned toward the door as it opened. For the first time, she saw the hallway beyond the room. There were two exits. One led toward the main entrance. The other disappeared around a corner. Olivia remembered the number of footsteps outside. She remembered the timing. She remembered the vehicle. And now she knew the name of the person who had helped arrange everything. Somewhere beyond that hallway, Adrian Blackwood was coming closer. Olivia remained completely calm. She had one question left. Not how she would get out. Not whether Adrian would find her. She already knew he would. The real question was whether Adrian would realize that the person inside his organization had been expecting him to come all along. The hallway seemed longer than Olivia remembered, but she knew why. She had been moved through the estate quickly the night she was taken, never given enough time to study the building. Now, every detail mattered. The soft footsteps behind her. The faint sound of a clock somewhere beyond the walls. The cool air coming from a partially open door. She kept walking with her hands relaxed, her expression composed. The man behind her seemed satisfied. He believed she had finally accepted that she was powerless. He did not understand that Olivia had already begun separating what she knew from what she only suspected. At the end of the hallway, a door opened. A man in a dark coat stood waiting. He was older than the others, perhaps in his late 50s, with silver hair and a carefully measured expression. Olivia recognized him immediately, not because she had met him before, but because she had seen his photograph in Adrian Blackwood's security records. Daniel Mercer, the security coordinator who had access to staff schedules. The person who could have known exactly when Olivia would be alone. Daniel looked at her for several seconds. "You have caused quite a problem tonight," he said. Olivia tilted her head slightly. "Have I? Adrian Blackwood is coming." "I know." Daniel's expression tightened. "You sound remarkably calm." "I have been calm all evening." He glanced toward the others. "Leave us." The men stepped away, and the hallway became quiet. Daniel lowered his voice. "You should understand something, Olivia. Adrian is not coming because you are important. He is coming because he believes he can control the situation." Olivia studied him. "And you believe you can control him?" Daniel gave a faint smile. "I know I can." Olivia said nothing. That answer was exactly what she needed. Confidence made people careless. Daniel continued explaining his plan, revealing more than he intended. Adrian would arrive at a nearby private property. He would be asked to enter alone. The situation would appear simple. Once Adrian committed himself, information would be released that would damage his reputation and fracture trust inside his organization. The hostage situation was only the beginning. Olivia listened without interrupting. Then she asked one question. "Why did you need me?" Daniel hesitated. "Because Adrian trusts you." "No," Olivia said softly. "He notices me." Daniel stared at her. She continued. "There is a difference." For the first time, his confidence seemed less certain. Outside, another vehicle arrived. Olivia heard the tires move across the gravel. She knew that sound. Adrian had arrived. Daniel checked his watch. "It is about to begin." Olivia looked toward the entrance. "No," she said. "It already began hours ago." Daniel's face changed slightly. Before he could respond, the front doors opened. Adrian Blackwood stepped into the building. He wore the same black tailored suit and open black shirt. His dark brown hair brushed back with natural silver running through it. His short boxed beard carrying the same subtle streaks. His brown eyes moved across the room without hurry. The black and gray tattoos visible above his open collar remained unchanged, a fixed part of the man everyone in the city recognized. He looked calm, completely calm. His gaze found Olivia. For one brief moment, neither spoke. Then Adrian looked past her and noticed Daniel. Something quiet passed between Adrian and Olivia. She gave the smallest nod. Adrian understood. Daniel was the reason she had been taken. But there was another detail he did not yet. No. Olivia had allowed Daniel to reveal part of his plan because she needed confirmation. She had it now. Daniel stepped forward. "Adrian, we can resolve this without complications." Adrian looked at him. "I agree." His voice was low and controlled. "But you made one mistake." Daniel frowned. Adrian's eyes shifted toward Olivia. "You assumed she needed me to find her." Olivia remained still. The hallway fell silent. Daniel looked from Adrian to Olivia, and for the first time, uncertainty appeared in his face. He finally understood that the woman standing beside him had not been waiting for rescue. She had been waiting for the right moment to reveal what she already knew. "You should have asked her what she knew," Adrian said. Daniel remained silent, his confidence fading beneath the steady weight of Adrian's gaze. Olivia stood between them, calm and composed, her posture unchanged. For hours, everyone had assumed the same thing, that Olivia had been moved from one place to another because she was the easiest person to use against Adrian. But now the truth was becoming clearer. She had been watching, she had been listening, and she had remembered every detail that mattered. Daniel glanced toward the hallway. "You think you have everything figured out," he said. Adrian did not answer. Olivia did. "No, we have enough." Daniel looked at her. "Enough for what?" Olivia reached into the pocket of her simple black uniform and placed a folded piece of paper on the nearby table. Daniel stared at it. His expression changed immediately. The 3 numbers were written across the page. "Where did you get that?" he asked. Olivia looked at him quietly. "You left it behind." "That is impossible." "Nothing is impossible when people stop paying attention." Adrian stepped closer to the table and looked down at the paper. He did not touch it. He did not need to. The first number matched the time of a staff access entry. The second matched a property location. The third matched an internal identifier connected to Daniel. Adrian looked up. "You were using the security system to track staff movements." Daniel said nothing. Olivia continued before he could respond. "You knew when I left the estate. You knew when Adrian was away. You knew which entrances were being used. You knew which employees would be nearby." Her voice remained soft. "But you did not know that I noticed the delivery truck." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "What truck?" "The one that arrived 2 weeks ago and never delivered anything." Adrian looked toward Olivia. She continued. "It stayed outside the estate for 12 minutes. The driver never entered the property. The same vehicle appeared again 3 days later." Daniel looked away. That was enough. Adrian had his answer. The room became very still. Marcus entered from the adjoining hallway and quietly handed Adrian a tablet. "We confirmed the vehicle," he said. "It was registered to a company connected to one of Daniel's contacts." Adrian looked at the screen, then at Daniel. "You had been planning this longer than we thought." Daniel finally spoke. "You do not understand the larger picture." Adrian's expression remained calm. "Then explain it." Daniel hesitated. Olivia watched him carefully. He wanted to talk. That was useful. People who believed they still had control often revealed more than they intended. Daniel began explaining that the plan had never been about money. It was about creating distrust inside Adrian's organization. Olivia was supposed to become the evidence that Adrian could not protect his own household. The goal was to make trusted people question his judgment. But there was a flaw in the plan. Olivia had never behaved the way they expected. She had not panicked. She had not begged. She had not given them information. She had simply watched. Adrian looked at Olivia. "How much did you know before tonight?" She paused. "Enough to know something was wrong." "And you said nothing?" "I was not certain." Adrian studied her for a moment. "So you waited." Olivia nodded. "People reveal more when they believe you know less." The words settled into the room. Adrian's expression softened by the smallest degree. Not surprise. Respect. Daniel looked between them and finally understood what had happened. The hostage had never been the center of the plan. She had become the reason the plan was exposed. Olivia looked toward the dark window. Outside, the city lights shimmered across the glass. The night was not over yet. There was still someone above Daniel, someone who had not been identified. And Olivia knew one thing with certainty. Whoever that person was had just learned that she was far more observant than they had ever imagined. The room remained silent after Olivia spoke, but Adrian already understood that the night had changed direction. Daniel Mercer was no longer the center of the mystery. He was only the first layer. Somewhere beyond him was another person, someone who had planned the operation carefully enough to remain invisible. Adrian turned toward Marcus. "Do not question Daniel yet," he said. Marcus nodded. "You want to follow the chain." "Exactly." Olivia watched them exchange a glance. She understood the strategy immediately. If Daniel believed he still had value, he might reveal the person above him. If he realized everything was already known, he would have no reason to cooperate. Daniel looked toward Olivia. "You think this is over?" "No," she replied. "I think it is finally beginning." Her answer made him pause. Adrian looked at her, and there was something different in his expression now. He had always considered Olivia careful, quiet, and unusually observant. Tonight, he was beginning to understand just how deliberate she was. Marcus opened the tablet again. "There is another access record," he said. "Someone used Daniel's credentials 3 hours before Olivia was taken." Adrian looked at the screen. "Who?" "The system does not show a name." Olivia stepped closer. "What time?" Marcus checked. 8:47 in the evening. Olivia's eyes narrowed slightly. "That is when the vehicle arrived at the estate." Adrian looked at her. "You remember?" "I remember everything I thought was unusual." Marcus searched through the records. A second entry appeared. There was also an external login at 9:12. Olivia looked toward the paper on the table. The numbers she had found suddenly made sense in a different way. They were not instructions for the people holding her. They were markers connected to the timing of the operation. Someone had been coordinating movements from outside the building. Adrian remained quiet for several seconds. Then he asked Olivia, "What else did you notice?" She thought carefully. "The people who brought me here were following a schedule. They changed shifts at regular intervals. But one person did not." "Who?" "The man who delivered the phone." Marcus looked up. "Describe him." Olivia closed her eyes briefly, reconstructing the moment. Gray jacket, dark baseball cap, about 6 feet tall. He carried a brown paper bag. Marcus began typing. "Anything else?" "He wore a silver watch on his left wrist." Adrian looked at her. "Did you see the watch clearly?" "Enough." Marcus searched through available records. A photograph appeared on the tablet. Olivia looked at it for less than 2 seconds. "That is him." Marcus stared at the image. The man in the photograph was not a stranger. He was a private consultant who had worked with several members of Adrian's organization over the past year. His name was Victor Lang. Adrian's expression remained controlled, but his eyes hardened with recognition. "Victor has never had direct access to the estate," Marcus said. "Not officially." Olivia looked at Adrian. "Then someone gave him access." Adrian nodded. The pieces were beginning to connect. Daniel had provided schedules. Victor had handled outside coordination. Someone else had created the larger objective. The hostage situation had been designed to make Adrian believe Olivia was the target, when in reality, she was the doorway into his inner circle. But there was one detail the planners had not anticipated. Olivia had noticed the wrong delivery truck 2 weeks earlier. She had remembered the timing. She had noticed the unusual access pattern. She had recognized the inconsistency in the people around her. And now she had identified another name. Adrian looked at her for a long moment. "You could have told me about the truck." Olivia lowered her gaze. "I did not know who to trust." Adrian did not take offense. Instead, he gave a small nod. That was the correct decision. It was the first time Olivia heard respect in his voice without any trace of doubt. Daniel watched them silently. He finally realized that the greatest mistake had not been taking Olivia. It had been underestimating the trust that could form between two people who had both learned to survive by watching what others ignored. Adrian turned toward Marcus. "Find Victor Lang." Marcus nodded and walked toward the door. Olivia remained still. Then her phone, which had been recovered from the table, vibrated once. Everyone stopped. The screen showed an unknown message. Only 6 words appeared. "We know she is with you." Olivia looked at Adrian. Adrian looked at the message. Neither spoke. The room went completely silent. The message remained on Olivia's phone for several seconds, its 6 words glowing against the dark screen. "We know she is with you." Marcus stopped near the doorway. Adrian did not move. Olivia read the sentence again, then quietly turned the phone face down. "They expected us to find Victor," she said. Adrian looked at her. "Why?" "Because finding him was supposed to make us feel close to the truth." Marcus frowned. "You think Victor is a distraction?" Olivia nodded. "I think he is useful, but I do not think he is the person making decisions." Adrian studied her carefully. "Then who is?" Olivia looked toward the windows. Beyond the glass, the city stretched beneath the night sky, thousands of lights scattered across the buildings. "Someone who understands how you think," she said. "Someone who knew you would follow the obvious trail." Adrian's expression remained calm, but his attention sharpened. "And someone who knew you would notice the wrong details." Olivia turned back toward him. "That is why they are watching us now." Marcus stepped forward. "If they know Olivia is here, we should move her somewhere secure." Olivia shook her head. "That is exactly what they want." Adrian looked at her. "Explain." "They expect you to hide me. If you do, they will know we are reacting to them." She paused. If we continue normally, they will have to make another move. Marcus looked uncertain. Adrian did not. Let them. Olivia met his eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. Something had changed between them. Earlier that night, Adrian had been searching for the woman who worked quietly inside his home. Now he was listening to her as though she had always belonged in the room. Marcus left to continue tracking Victor Lang. Adrian remained with Olivia. The silence between them felt different from before. Not uncomfortable. Measured. There is something I have not told you, Olivia said. Adrian waited. Before I worked for you, I had another life. She looked down briefly. I learned early that people reveal themselves when they think no one is paying attention. Adrian's gaze remained steady. Where did you learn that? Olivia hesitated. From my grandmother. Her voice softened. She used to tell me that the safest person in the room is often the one everyone forgets to notice. Adrian almost smiled. She sounds wise. She was. Olivia looked toward the hallway. She also taught me never to confuse kindness with weakness. Adrian absorbed the words quietly. For the first time, Olivia allowed herself to explain more. She had worked different jobs before becoming a maid. Administrative work, private household assistants, places where discretion mattered. She had learned how to recognize patterns, remember schedules, and notice inconsistencies. She had never considered those skills extraordinary. They were simply part of how she moved through the world. Adrian listened without interrupting. Then he asked, "Why did you never tell me?" Olivia looked at him. "Because you never asked." The answer was simple. Adrian lowered his eyes for a moment, then nodded. "Fair." A soft sound came from the hallway. Marcus returned with a new update. "We found Victor Lang." Adrian turned. "Where?" "He left the city 20 minutes ago." Olivia looked at the clock. Her expression changed. "That is too convenient." Marcus stopped. Olivia continued. "He wants us to follow him." Adrian understood immediately. Victor was not running from them. He was leading them somewhere. Then Adrian's phone rang. The caller identification showed a number neither of them recognized. He answered without speaking. A calm voice came through the speaker. "You are asking the wrong questions, Adrian." Adrian's eyes shifted toward Olivia. The voice continued. "The woman you are protecting is not the reason we came after you." The call ended. Olivia remained silent. Adrian slowly lowered the phone. For the first time that night, she saw something in his eyes that was not fear, anger, or suspicion. It was concern. Not for his empire. Not for himself. For her. And Olivia finally understood that whatever came next would reveal the one secret she had spent years keeping to herself. "The woman you are protecting is not the reason we came after you." Adrian kept the phone against his ear for one silent second after the call ended, listening to nothing but the faint static of the disconnected line. Olivia stood across from him, watching his expression carefully. She had seen him remain calm under pressure, but this was different. His face was composed, his brown eyes steady, yet something behind them had shifted. "What secret?" he asked. Olivia did not answer immediately. The room seemed to grow quieter around them. Marcus remained near the doorway, waiting. Olivia finally looked toward the dark window. "Before I became a maid, I worked for a private family office in Chicago." Adrian listened. "I handled records, schedules, correspondence, and confidential documents. Nothing glamorous. But I learned how information moves between people." She paused. "One afternoon, I found a series of financial records that did not match the official reports. I reported the discrepancy." Adrian's expression tightened slightly. "What happened?" "The records disappeared. Then my position disappeared. After that, someone made it very clear that asking more questions would not be good for my future." Olivia looked down at her hands. "So I stopped asking." Marcus exchanged a glance with Adrian. Olivia continued. "I changed jobs. I kept my head down. Eventually, I found work at your estate." Adrian studied her. "And you recognized something tonight." "Not something. A pattern." She explained the delivery truck, the unusual schedules, the access records, and the identifier she had found beneath the table. Each detail had seemed insignificant alone. Together, they formed a familiar pattern. Someone was moving information through people who appeared unrelated. Adrian walked toward the window, the city lights reflecting faintly across his face. His black suit remained perfectly tailored, his open black shirt revealing the fixed black and gray tattoos across his upper chest. His dark brown hair was brushed back, naturally mixed with silver, and his short boxed beard carried the same subtle streaks. Why did they come after you now? He asked. Olivia looked at him. Because they realized I remembered. Adrian turned. Remembered what? A name. The word hung in the room. Olivia reached into her bag and removed a small folded note she had kept hidden for years. She placed it on the table. Adrian opened it carefully. One name was written across the page. Victor Lang. Marcus stared at it. You knew Victor before tonight? Olivia nodded. Not personally. His name appeared in the records I found years ago. Adrian looked at her with renewed attention. You have been carrying this all this time? I never knew whether it mattered. She paused. Until I saw him connected to your organization. The silence that followed felt heavier than anything that had come before. Adrian finally understood why the kidnappers had chosen Olivia. They had not simply wanted to use her against him. They wanted to discover whether she still remembered the information that had once threatened someone else's interests. Olivia had unknowingly carried a piece of an old secret into Adrian's world. And now that secret had connected two lives that were never supposed to meet. Adrian folded the note and returned it to her. You should have told me. Olivia met his eyes. I was afraid you would not believe me. Adrian's voice was quiet. I believe you. She looked surprised. Why? He held her gaze. Because you had every opportunity to use what you knew against me, and you never did. Olivia said nothing. Adrian continued. You protected my home when you could have walked away. You protected my son when you had no reason to. And tonight, you protected yourself without asking anyone to save you. Olivia's expression softened. I did not do it for you. Adrian nodded. I know. For the first time, there was no distance in his voice. Only respect. Marcus stepped closer with the final update. Victor Lang has stopped moving. Adrian looked at him. Where? Marcus gave the address. Olivia recognized it immediately. It was the same private office where she had worked years ago. Adrian looked at her. She looked back. Neither needed to say what it meant. The past had finally found them both. And this time, Olivia would not face it alone.